As a single mother who works 2 jobs to support herself, Sarah has always felt that supporting those in need is important. She once noticed a homeless man sitting by himself outside the area where she works. Unaware that this simple gesture of goodwill would forever alter her life, she offered him a dinner. After she lost her job a few days later, an enigmatic van showed up outside her home. Welcome to Mystic Tales, everyone. I'm thrilled to tell you a fresh story today. Sarah had never given her personal difficulties much thought. She was too preoccupied with keeping her head down and providing for her young kid. It wasn't an easy life. She was employed as a cleaner at night and as a clerk in a local grocery store during the day. Every hour of labor was valuable, and every penny counted. However, that day was unique. It was chilly, the sort of chilly that pierces your bones. During her break, Sarah noticed him as she was leaving the grocery shop. A man sitting on the sidewalk with a dilapidated sign is dressed in ragged clothing. All it said was, "Anything helps." Sarah hesitated. Despite having nothing of her own, she felt compelled to stop. She returned to the store, purchased a coffee and a sandwich, and then made her way back to the man. Without hesitation, she gave them to him, grinned, and went back to work. Life continued as usual for a few days, or so she believed. However, an unforeseen event occurred. She was summoned to her manager's office. He claimed that in order to save expenses, the store had to fire some employees. Unfortunately, one of them was Sarah. She was heartbroken. She packed her belongings and left for home with tears in her eyes, wondering how she would cope without that work. She had no idea that her life would soon take an even more bizarre turn. Sarah had a lot on her mind as she headed home. How would she cover her expenses? Unaware of the circumstances, her daughter Lily was waiting for her at home. In an attempt to hide the awful news from herself as long as possible, Sarah contrived a grin when she arrived. She pretended to be brave, but on the inside, she was confused. Something strange occurred the following morning. The sound of a car outside Sarah's house awakened her up. The sound of the delivery trucks that periodically drove by wasn't what you'd expect. She noticed an old, dilapidated van parked just in front of her house when she looked outside. The van was basic and nearly undetectable, lacking any insignia or the company's emblem. Although it appeared odd, Sarah dismissed it, supposing it was either a lost person or someone strolling through the area. Hours passed with no movement from the van. It remained there. Sarah started to get apprehensive. Who would leave a van parked in that manner for an extended period of time? Was she being observed by anyone? In an attempt to suppress the ideas racing through her head, she closed the blinds. Her mind was already consumed by the fear of losing her work, and this enigmatic van was making matters worse. She was making dinner for Lily later that night when she heard a gentle knock on the door. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She didn't have any expectations. She approached the door hesitantly and opened it gradually. There was nobody. However, there was something. There was a modest, basic mail on her porch. It included only her name in immaculate handwriting, Sarah. There were no markings or address. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up the letter. What might this be? Who abandoned it? Sarah inhaled deeply before opening it. There was only one note inside. It said, "Your generosity was appreciated. Prepare yourself for the next step." That was it. No explanation, no signature. For a few minutes, Sarah stood motionless as the significance of those words set in. What was meant by this? And what would happen next? And who did it? The homeless man she had assisted a few days prior was on her mind constantly. Was there a connection between this? However, how is that possible? She had merely provided a modest act of compassion to a man who was in need. Something like this couldn't reasonably result from that, could it? Sarah's following few days were stressful. The van remained parked outside her house, and it was always there, motionless, when she peered out the window. She felt anxious even though she didn't see anyone come or go from it. Her thoughts kept returning to the note. Be ready for what comes next. However, nothing appeared to occur. The van was sitting there alone. Sarah kept it a secret from everyone, including Lily. She made an effort to lead a normal life, but she was having internal struggles. Her savings were depleting, and she had failed to locate a new employment. She couldn't get rid of the uncanny feeling that something odd was occurring that she couldn't explain. Sarah saw the van once more one day as she was making her way home, following yet another fruitless job search. The driver's side door was open this time. From a distance, it was difficult to discern any details, but there was a human sitting inside. As she approached, Sarah's heart began to accelerate. Should she go up to the person inside? What if she had been being watched by this individual? What were they seeking? However, the door closed before she could approach, and the van began to drive away, albeit slowly at first, as though it was waiting to see if she would follow. Then it vanished around the bend. Shaken and bewildered, Sarah stood there. Who was that? And why did they spend days outside her home? She was sitting at the kitchen table that night when she noticed that she was looking at the note once more. Be ready for what comes next. She kept hearing the words. She felt as though something was building, like the calm before a storm, but she had no idea what it meant. After putting Lily to bed later that evening, Sarah heard a knock on the door. Her heart pounded as it had previously. There was nobody there when she opened the door. However, there was one additional envelope. The note inside was lengthier this time. It said, Your life is going to alter in ways you can't even fathom, Sarah. Have faith in the process. You're going to get a present tomorrow. Don't be scared. With the note shaking in her hands, Sarah took a seat. A present? Whose? What sort of present is it? Nothing about the notes or the van made sense. However, one thing was evident. A larger force was at work, and it was all related to that one deed of generosity. Early the following morning, Sarah got up. The note from the previous evening was on her mind constantly. A present will be given to you. Don't be scared. It was mysterious, yet also ambiguous. What sort of present? And why her? She was still having trouble understanding anything. Although the van had not yet returned, excitement was growing. Nothing seemed to happen during the day. After several hours, Sarah began to suspect that the messages might have been a nasty practical joke. By the end of the afternoon, she made an effort to ignore the thoughts and concentrate on her daughter. However, a loud tap on the door interrupted her dinner preparations. It wasn't subtle or delicate this time. The firmness seemed almost urgent. Sarah's heart thumped in her chest as she froze. She approached the door slowly and opened it. A brand new van was parked in the driveway in front of her. The streamlined, black car shone in the sunlight. The dilapidated van that had been parked outside her home for days was completely different from this one. This one was sleek, contemporary, and pricey. However, it wasn't all. A man with a clipboard and a sharp suit stood beside the van. This is for you, Miss Sarah, he remarked with a kind smile. Sarah blinking, perplexed. For me? What is this? After giving her a pair of keys, the man nodded. The van is a present, fully paid for under your name. The vehicle itself is yours, but there is more for you to find within. Sarah gripped the keys with trembling hands. I don't get it. This was sent by whom? You're handing me this, but why? The man grinned once more, but offered no responses. Sarah, you have been selected to receive this gift. Please know that your deed of generosity was appreciated. Would you please look inside the van? Sarah approached the van and opened the door with shaking hands. She discovered something unexpected within. A heavier leather envelope than the one she had previously gotten was resting on the front seat. Carefully, she opened it. She had never seen so much money in her life, but there were heaps of it inside. A letter was also present. The message said, Sarah, this is merely the start. You have demonstrated that you are willing to give even when things are tough. Something greater than you can imagine has been sparked by your generosity. This van is a gift for you and your daughter, as is the money within. Make good use of them. More is on the horizon. With appreciation, a friend. Sarah's thoughts were racing as she gazed at the letter. Who was this so-called friend? How did they have such extensive knowledge about her life? Tears filled her eyes as she felt overpowered. This was more than just a present. It changed people's lives. She was unsure of how or why, but she was certain that her life would never be the same. Sarah sat in the new van's driver's seat, still unable to comprehend what had just transpired. Not only did the keys feel heavy in her fingers because of the car they belonged to, but also because of what they represented. She never could have imagined the direction her life had gone. She was worried about losing her work, but all of a sudden she had a new van, a sizable sum of money, and a mysterious note that said there would be more. The days that followed were bizarre. The enigmatic man who delivered the new van disappeared as fast as he had appeared, and the old van that had been parked outside her house never came back. Sarah couldn't stop staring at the money envelope, wondering if this was all a dream. She eventually gave herself permission to breathe, if only briefly, after paying off the last of her bills and stocking the refrigerator with food. However, Sarah didn't take anything for granted. She was aware that there was more going on, even with her new situation. She had only performed a modest deed of compassion for a man in need, nothing spectacular. But here she was, reaping benefits she never would have thought possible. While sitting with Lily one evening, Sarah thought back on all that had transpired. She understood that material possessions and money were not the only aspects of this experience. It focused on the transformative power of compassion and how one act of kindness may have a profound impact. Sarah made the decision to share this gift with others. She started utilizing the vehicle to provide rides to people in need and carry food to the neighborhood shelters as a way to give back to her community. She was able to give back in ways she had never been able to before thanks to the money. Like when she handed the homeless man a meal and coffee, she found satisfaction in these tiny gestures. Life gradually adopted a new rhythm as the weeks went by. No more gifts were delivered, and the enigmatic messages ceased, but Sarah was unconcerned. She had more than enough to live comfortably and care for her daughter. More significantly, though, she had found something bigger. Her life and the lives of others around her had been changed by that one act of compassion, which at first glance looked so insignificant. Sarah caught herself grinning one evening as she was putting Lily to bed. She had discovered that the cosmos occasionally rewards generosity in ways that are unpredictable. She was appreciative even though she had no idea who her enigmatic benefactor was or why she had been selected. Knowing that kindness might bring about unthinkable change, even in the most trying circumstances, filled her heart. She also knew in that silent moment that she would be prepared for whatever came next. Did you enjoy this story? For more, hit the like button and sign up for Mystic Tales. Please share your thoughts on this tale in the comment section using just one word.